Hello and welcome to another episode of Talking Politics here at The Hindu with me, Nistula Hebbar, where we unpack the news making the headlines in domestic politics this week. This week was the week of the great parliamentary conflagration where the government and the opposition came head to head, almost toes, within the Rajya Sabha. That incident has had its own ramifications, and the government's efforts have been to portray that the opposition had misbehaved and was refusing to discuss the bills, which the opposition was saying that the government had pushed through without any kind of consultation with the opposition benches or with any reference to any of the events and issues that the opposition wanted to discuss, namely the Pegasus snooping scandal and the three contentious farm laws. Well, be that as it may, there was one issue and one bill on which both the opposition and the Treasury benches came together, and that was the Constitution 127th Amendment Bill. This restored the rights of the states to make their own list of OBCs, and was necessitated by the fact that in 2018 the NDA government had moved the 102nd Amendment Bill, which gave constitutional status to the Backward Classes Commission, which was then interpreted in the Maratha reservation case by the Supreme Court as basically meaning that the states had no right to make a list of OBCs in their area. Therefore, the government felt that it was necessary to bring in a law that would nullify that particular aspect of the Supreme Court's order. Why did all the parties get together to pass this bill? Of course, there's a question of federalism. Many of the opposition parties have states under them and therefore would like to see that their rights to make a list of OBC communities is protected. During the debate, which is followed extremely closely by The Hindu, we found that there were two other very common demands. In fact, the Shiv Sena's Vinayak Rao did move an amendment also to this effect. One was to raise the cap of reservation from 50% to accommodate more and more communities, especially communities like the Marathas, the Jats and the Patidars, who are not traditionally the Mandal communities, who did not taste the fruits of reservation through the first unfurling of the Mandal Commission recommendations. And the second was to commit to a caste-based census, that is, enumerating the people of India, categorizing them in this enumeration according to their caste status. These are two demands that were made by almost every party that spoke on this debate, and inadvertently from the BJP's lead speaker during this debate in the Lok Sabha, Sanghamitra Maurya. The Minister for Social Justice and Empowerment, Dr. Virendra Kumar, acknowledged that the government was aware of the feelings of the MPs with regard to this raising of the cap, and made a non-committal sort of response saying that the issue needed to be gone into in its legal and constitutional aspects. Be that as it may, this issue is going to be important going into the future because of the way the Mandal Commission recommendations have unfurled in domestic politics. What is the nature of that unfurling will also be looked at in this episode. The recommendations of the Mandal Commission, when they were implemented in the 1990s, created a tectonic shift in Indian politics. Several parties, which counted on the support of other backward classes and minorities, rose up and became dominant forces, especially in North India during this period. The Samajwadi Party is just one example. Another example is the Rashtriya Janata Dal in Bihar. These two parties dominated and ruled the respective states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar several times during the last 3 decades. But that is just the first unfurling of what the Mandal Commission recommendations mean. This was a monolithic block of OBC voters happy at having received reservations for the first time, and coupled with minority voters in these states, they formed an unbeatable voting bloc, which was sometimes breached by the larger Hindutva rhetoric of the BJP pertaining to the Ram Mandir or the Ram Temple issue. This kind of seesaw battle between Mandal and Mandir was a very characteristic feature of the 1990s. What happened next? What happened next was Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the man he put in charge of Uttar Pradesh, Amit Shah, broke that monolith of OBC voters. Prime Minister Modi, himself belonging to a backward community, had held a powerful influence over this strategy and over voters who belonged to communities which were somehow lost within the larger bloc of OBC communities and dominated by communities such as the Yadavs. These were Kurmis, Koris, etc., etc. And they felt empowered in a new BJP, which seemed to be saying that since in the monolithic OBC bloc, you are not getting your share of the reservation pie or even participation in power, come to the BJP, where you will be given party tickets, ministerial berths, and a say in terms of which way the government should be going. Your participation in power will be enhanced by coming over to the BJP, because in the other Mandal parties, it was the Yadavs and the families of these leaders who seemed to be holding sway. This was a very, very powerful appeal, and in 2017 especially, we saw this powerful effect, electoral effect in Uttar Pradesh, which saw the BJP storm back to power after many years with a majority of over 320 seats. So therefore, these demands for raising the cap on reservation to more than 50% and a demand for a caste-based census is a way in which to trap the BJP in order to disturb its status quo at the moment with the non-dominant OBC communities. Once the numbers of each person, the census figure or any kind of socioeconomic caste census reveals the true figures, there will be nothing to hide behind. And it will also raise the demand for raising a cap from 50% to above that. What does this mean? It means that the upper castes will feel alienated, may feel alienated, and they may push back against the BJP, which counts on the support within the larger Hindutva rhetoric of non-Yadav OBCs, some aspects, some parts of the Dalit vote, and certainly the upper caste vote, which in a state like Uttar Pradesh is between 18 to 20%. So therefore, Mandal 3 will revolve around demands for a socio-economic caste census or enumeration based on caste identities and the raising of the demand, raising of the cap for reservations to above 50%. This will mean that every political party will have to rejig its social engineering, and Mandal 3 may see very surprising winners and losers. This particular change is not going to unfurl in a year or two. It will take more time and will have a very lasting impact on politics in this country. It is the nature of democratic change that it cannot be stopped from unfurling. And that has been the case with the Mandal Commission recommendations. From the 1990s to 2021, it has been constantly inventing and reinventing itself. We will be tracking that story in future. Thank you for joining us this week.